Hey, y'all. You're listening to Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies, the DSM podcast. We help make mental health more comfortable by using Black movies and shows we know and love and culture to remove stigma. So join our convo with your host, Courtney Copeland, licensed mental health counselor.
And Dr. B, licensed professional counselor.
You got to recycle.
So, yes, that is also one of my quotables from the, I feel like, underrated, should have been critically acclaimed, Oscar-worthy movie, 1996 movie, Set It Off, directed by F. Gary Gray, who does not get all of the flowers that he deserves for his artistry. I feel like this movie had everything in it. It had comedy, it had drama, it had action, it had one of the best sex scenes I think I've seen in a real long time, with the In Vogue playing.
Yes. Oh, that was everything.
Mm-hmm. And Blair Underwood with them old good deacon waves that he got, looking all just chocolatey.
Let me tell you, I just want to take one of my necklaces and just have like some Evan put his like around my booty, like how they did. When I describe it, it was disgusting.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as good as it looked in the
my cheek and my booty.
Okay, so moving along. This movie starred a very heavy-hitting cast with Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, Vivica Fox, and what I feel like this might have been one of my favorite roles of hers. Kimberly Elise, like we said, Blair Underwood, the late Thomas Jefferson Byrd. We unfortunately just recently lost him. And lots of other actors. Junior from Players Club. I refuse to say his name other than just Junior from Players Club because he will always be Junior from Players Club. And in my mind, the president of the He-Man Woman Haters Club, Dr. Dre, because he hates women. That's a subject we can get into in a later podcast, maybe.
Okay, cool. We can set that up. Let me make that note.
But yes, I absolutely love this movie, and I forgot how much I loved it until I watched it again, and I was like, this movie was amazing.
You know, I was really gonna be I'm gonna be honest.
You don't agree?
No, I did not look forward to watching this movie. When you said we're gonna watch Set It Off next, I said, oh Lord, that's sad movie. It's so sad. It's like a female version of Dead Presidents. It's just like, well, at least Jada get away and she ends up in Mexico somewhere in Mexico.
I'm mad at how you said it the first time. Okay, so yes, it is sad, and I feel like, but that's what makes the movie so good. The fact that it's able to evoke all of those emotions in you. I feel like Cleo dying, that's the most iconic death scene aside from like Mufasa. Like anytime that you hear that song, it takes you back to that place. Day after day. See, you're in that place. She played the hell out of that role.
She did. She certainly did. And that is one of my favorite. I want to go out like that. Let me tell you something. If anybody ever lay hand on my family or friends, that's exactly how I'm gonna just shoot them up, shoot them, and I'm gonna go out with 2 guns, go, and everybody dying for my family because y'all did that to my family. I'm sorry. I could not be Jada Pinkett just on the bus like, oh, I got all this money and I'm just going to shoot. No, I'm going out for me and mine.
So in other words, you feel like Tupac or Bishop from Juice, where if you got to go out, once again, that's how you go out. He took his destiny in his own hands. I feel like every time somebody dies, we end up going back.
I suppose you're right. Yeah, if you're going to go out, shit, you might as well go out.
I would not like to go out like that. The pain that Queen Latifah had on her face when she balled up her fist. I said, oh, That look like it hurt.
I know. One of them just got a real good.
Because they riddled her with bullets. That was overkill. That was unnecessary. I feel like LA's taxpayer dollars were wasted on how many bullets they put into Queen Latifah or Cleo in that scene.
Do you want to know what cost the most in what cost the most when filming this film?
Maybe the car that they shot up?
No. The budget went to the movie rights or the music rights to the Godfather music that they had. Yes, a lot.
Little scene.
Half of the movie's budget went to that one little scene. Yes, that is a fun fact.
I feel like the movie would have been just as good without it.
I really do. I really do. Like, so, and I was really trying to figure out why was that scene even necessary. But
it was cute.
I suppose. But if it's going to be half your friggin' budget, I would think you want that music on repeat in the background.
So, aside from
you got to recycle.
That, I swear to God, that was one of mine too. What other quotables do you have from the movie?
Oh, Frankie want to blow up the bank. Frankie want to rob the bank. And then, of course, when Frankie told Cleo, I'm done. I done told you I'm strictly dickly. And that to me was like, is she the one who made that up? Is she the one who coined that term? I don't know.
Nah.
No, she couldn't have been. Okay, yeah. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. So along with you guys to recycle, I just want to say the part before that, because the whole thing is just so funny to me. And I'm so glad that we are doing this movie so that we can honor Thomas Jefferson Burr, who played Luther, because he was hilarious. He was an asshole, but he was hilarious. He said,
now these good white folks are out here trying to recycle all of their glasses, plastics, and aluminum.
And you bitches keep throwing them all in the dumpster.
I know. It was rude. You call him bitches.
To recycle. Yes, and then he kept calling, he would say,
good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Calling Cleo a man. He never say nothing though. I bet they wasn't mad that they had to kill Luther.
Okay, Luther, Lord have mercy. That was an interesting way to have to go out, ain't it?
But aside from Luther's quotables, I have what I feel like, at least in I know in my family, is the most popular from the film. One of my cousins even posted it the other day and on Facebook. And I was like, that's so funny. We're about to do that movie. Was when she leans on a car and says,
I'm in a bind, Nate.
We've all been there.
No, I have not. Selling pussies for emergencies only. I don't think I've been in that.
Oh, no. I've never been in that kind of emergency. But we've all been in the bind. We've all been in the bind. Can we cut that? That was not the response that was needed.
Amen. I think, yes, we've all been in a bind. I don't know if we've been in a selling box bind, though. I think that was very specific to that situation.
But, I mean, you could tell the difference between the interest of having to do said selling because of the two contrast of the sex scenes for her. Like, okay, here she is just laying here like, oh my God, and showering, scrubbing her skin off. And then the next one in contrast is her just, having a chain ran down her booty hole. And then, walking out looking all blushed and just, it was just great being with you last night. Like,
but my whole thing is,
sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. It be like that.
How bad did you like that? You was paying $2,000 for that motionless, uninterested staring at the ceiling. Like she must have had that WAP. Like how can you be that uninterested and still get paid $2 stacks?
How'd you know it was
That
2
motionless-
stacks?
Because that's what she needed.
How you know? Where'd you get that?
Because she said, okay, Nate, so if I come work for you at the car dealership, how much can I make a month? He was like, you could make about $2,000. And she was like, oh, really? Okay, well, if I come, I'm going to need an advance on that. And he was like, oh, well, you got to give me a reason to do that. And then she was like, and then I'm in a bind, Nate.
I'm in a bind. I'm in a bind. No, you know what? That advance was probably like $500.
I'd be damned. I can't.
I'm telling you.
Look, that bed didn't even look like it had sheets on it. So you giving up.
Girl, I said the same thing. I said them sheets coming off their bed like that. Ew.
Was it a hotel or was that his apartment?
It looked like that was his place. It just looked... it looked musty. He looked musty. The scene would look musty. It all looked musty. It looked like ball sweat musty.
Ew.
I hated that for her. That was the worst scene ever. I had that like stamped in my head as a child. I have to remind our listeners, I was 6 years old when this movie came out. Okay. I was 6 years old when this movie came out. So you got to understand where I was when I first saw this versus the few other times that I've seen it and then seeing it again. And I'm just like tying all these scenes together. And Queen Latifah just always still remains hardcore. But Frankie scared me as a child. She was scary.
Tell me more.
She was so bossy. She was so bossy and she was the leader. And I feel like if it weren't for her, they wouldn't have had to go and rob so many times. You know, like I feel like had they put Stoney, if Stoney was a person that was in charge, I think it would have been like maybe a couple times and then that would have been it. But because Frankie, and then she also had Cleo to back her up, like to be her muscle. Like how she had the gun on her own best friend to convince her to go do something that she didn't want to do. So she just was scary. I don't like people like that. She would never be my friend.
I felt so bad for Frankie. I didn't look at her as scary or even like in control. I remember feeling really bad for her as a kid, like when I watched it, because she was so scared when they robbed the bank. And I felt like she was just so angry and afterwards because she was in that situation. And then now looking at it, I'm like, oh, she is just having a full-on traumatic response. Like Frankie is not even really in control of what Frankie is doing right now. Because even when she is like, when she pulls out the gun,
personality.
She's like, I had to push y'all.
That's what I'm saying. She was scary when she got to that place. Everything you said was absolutely correct, but that does not mean that her actions that took her to that level. And it was like, damn, all right, girl, okay, I'm gonna go rob this bank. Shit, you tripping? Like,
you know what I just thought of? I would probably be the Frankie in the group. And so that's why I'm like, no, sympathize with her. Love her. She's just misunderstood. That would be me. I would be the one who had
you might be
terrible happen and have to dissociate and become a bossy hot mess.
I feel like I'm a combination just between. So if that's the case, you, Frankie, that means I'm a little bit of Cleo, Stoney, and TT because, you know...
You're everyone else.
Right, pretty much, because I got all of it. I'll be like, let's do this a couple times to feed my weed habit and help pay for my child, because I need to be a responsible adult at some point.
Well, speaking of TT, she is my last quote. And I have two for her because they go hand in hand. When
she only had 15 lines in the whole movie.
And two of them went together. And when she said,
I need that money.
Girl, she said they were all her money.
I need that money. And then when they robbed the bank and they was counting the money, then she said, I got money.
She went from polar opposites. Okay, all jokes aside though, this was actually her first movie.
Yes, this was introducing Kimberly Elise.
Yes. Yes.
I did feel like it made me look at it differently then, because I feel like she did give a lot of depth for this to be her first movie.
Right? It was a really good movie. I think her demeanor in this movie, I feel like I see it in Diary of a Mad Black Woman and For Color Girls. That softer, more quiet, nail biting, type of persona, which is interesting. But I thought that was cool that this was her first film.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was interesting how she changed from the beginning of the movie, her character rather, from the beginning of the movie to the end, when she was, get your hands up, get them up. Like she was in there taking commands and screaming extra hard.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with Stoney. Stoney was out there yelling real hard with her manly voice. Get down on the ground.
They did have to use their manly voice. You can't be a lady and rob a bank.
Right.
I guess you have to be tough.
Okay,
people take it seriously. You can't be like, please get on the ground.
Right. And I guess a wig and sunglasses really do disguise you that well.
Not at all. You see, the police officer was like, that looks like the girls, the brother, sister. That looks like Cleo. That looks like the bank lady.
So close. They were so close. But Scooby-Doo and the gang.
Not Scooby-Doo and the gang.
They had to come fuck shit up. That bitch blonde, brown hair, whatever color. And that first clip of her with that bang, I was like, what is?
Not the bang.
I hate her haircut. Why did she have to have that haircut? And then all the other scenes after that, finally they had her laid right. But I hated her hair. Like, I just hated her because I hated her hair. And she was a police. And she was a part of the fucking Scooby-Doo gang. Period. That's that. Done. Okay. Why did I get so aggressive about that?
I don't know. Serious disdain for the bang. Again, a testament to how good this movie is. It does evoke so much emotion from all of the people that do watch it. I feel like so much happens in this movie before the opening credits even finish running. There's a whole bank robbery, and then they're interrogating Frankie, and she walk out and say,
"You didn't even bother to ask me if I was thirsty, sister."
Ooh, right? The audacity.
And then all of that before even the credits roll. People are dead. A bank robbery has happened. Just powerful. No. Again, F. Gary Gray. He don't get his flowers. Shouts out to him. I really feel like the rewards weren't worth the risk. They were really excited that Darnell and them got away with $20,000.
Right. I was like,
two of them died. Like, was that worth $20,000?
Right. Absolutely not. I don't know. I just feel like this movie symbolized a little bit more, I guess. Like, I mean, there are tons of people who are living through poverty and have to make decisions and want to find the quickest way, or like, the get out of jail quick type of, plan or scheme that they can come up with. And I just don't think that robbing a bank is usually everyone's first thought, is it?
I'm not exactly sure. Unfortunately, from my understanding, my grandfather, who I don't know, robbed the bank and then had to leave, and that's why I don't know him. So apparently the thought happens more than you would think for people.
Wow. Okay, let me put that on my bucket list. Bucket list.
Because it's literally what you're going to do before you kick the bucket, because everyone has camera phones. There's a whole lot. Security is very different these days.
And again, I'm going to go out quartered in a motherfucker with a cigarette dangling out on the side of my mouth and everything.
Will the cigarette be lit? Because you don't even smoke cigarettes.
It has to be because it's going to be even cooler. It has to be the whole setup. You can't half-ass this. It has to be like the whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah. So, but anyway.
Okay, so for all of our listeners that may not have seen the movie, first of all, what are you doing with your life? But it is basically about four female friends who are tired of scratching and surviving to get by. Frankie is a bank teller and then witnesses a bank robbery at her bank, loses her job because she knew the people who robbed the bank. And then they decide, after lots of other terrible, horrible things happen, they decide that they as well will begin bank robbing to get out of the hood. But unfortunately, Scooby-Doo and the gang catch up with them. Can I just say, I hated the brother in this movie. I was like, bro, this is...
Right.
Yo, dumbass. So first of all, like, why did he only apply to one school? Where was his school counselor? Why did he only apply to UCLA? Why were there not other colleges for him to go to?
Because he didn't really want to go to school. He didn't want to go to school.
Okay, that's fine. But so Stoney didn't read the denial letter? Like, so when the letter came, she just like let him open it and just watched him and he made up a lie? Like, how you didn't know? Basically for everybody in the hood to think that you got accepted, that is what basically happened. But Stoney, you didn't read the letter? Everybody know approval letters come in a package, denial letters come in an envelope.
No, everybody don't know that. Especially not when you
again. Where was his school counselor?
In the gutter somewhere. It's not everybody a good school counselor like you.
Well, they need to be. And I'm gatekeeper of the profession. If you're going to be doing it and you're going to be doing it in an underserved area, then you need to be on your shit times 10. Why shouldn't have him applying? At least he couldn't even apply to the community college.
This was 1996. They was trying really hard. They was trying real hard. I don't know what you want me to say.
1996 wasn't that long ago. Fuck out of here.
It felt like it was a long time ago.
Whooped his ass. Talk about, well, I didn't get... Nigga, do you know I had to fuck Musty Nate to get this money?
Musty Nate.
He didn't have no sheets on the bed.
Musty Nate.
I had to get his Lincoln and ride in that car. Smelled like cigarettes all the way to...
Oh, God.
This apartment and have sex on a bed with no sheets for you to get this money, and you didn't get in. I'd have did more to slap him.
But listen, no,
Jada leave the house after. Oh, hell no.
You know who needed their ass slapped after that? Stoney, for ripping up the check.
Bitch.
She needed her ass slapped after that. Why would you go and do that? All of that with Musty Nate and then rip up the check.
I don't get why she ripped up the check. It did. Your dumb ass, look, your brother going to die. You could at least use that money to bury him.
Okay, now this is one thing that I was like, okay, this is so theatrical when she goes and runs to the body and she picks him. What you done? And I was like, okay, she's not supposed to be touching the body. That's evidence. We shot someone. I've watched enough Law and Order to know you're not supposed to touch the body.
Lots of things that confuzzled me. Like, how was Junior from Players Club a whole bank robber, but he was scared of Jada Pinkett? He was like, well, you know why I ain't come to your party.
Right.
Nigga, you a whole bank robber. You scared a little ass Stoney?
Because real recognize real, okay? He understand. He understands she crazy. And she would fuck him up. So that's why he doesn't come around.
I guess so, because she had that nigga shook. You know why I ain't come to your party, right?
True. She the one who survived all of this. You gotta be one kind of a person. One hell of a person. to survive all of that.
So I have come to the conclusion, and I feel that all of the deaths, the robberies, all of the negativity that just happens after the opening credits roll are all of the police's fault. It's all Dr. Cox from Scrubs. I don't know what his name was in this movie, but it's all his fault. Over policing in Black neighborhoods only leads to more crime because them not properly IDing who Junior from Players Club was and was not, and mistaking the brother, unjustly murdering him, is what set everything into motion. The other banks would have never been robbed had they properly done their job. There's just so many. So? Yes, because Stoney was not down to rob banks until her brother died.
Okay, but I mean, it seemed like either way, something was going to trigger them to rob this bank. Because again, Frankie was adamant either she was going to blow up the bank or she was going to rob the bank.
But see, that was a joke. It was Frankie going to blow up the bank. It was all laughing jokes when, before her brother died. But then, like, it actually started becoming, well, maybe we should do this. I mean,
but then we have to
anyway.
We also have to recognize it wasn't because of her brother. It was actually because the baby ended up drinking some bleach.
I feel like that was the final straw.
It's because everybody robbed the bank because baby drank bleach. The end. What kind of movie is this?
And so that's another inaccuracy that I had, like how you can't touch the body. If she brought her baby to work with her, how is that neglect? Now, I could see if she had left the baby at home by himself and then he drank some bleach and then they had to come. Okay, that's neglect. But if you bring the baby with you, clearly, like she should have gotten some DSS childcare vouchers, and then he would have been guaranteed to be watched while she was earning a living. Like, how is taking him away? Like, how is that one, neglect, and two, how is taking him away to make sure that she can take care of him? It seemed unrealistic, especially in the current system that we work within, where you basically have to be giving the baby crack yourself or beating them within the pulp of their life or like sexually molesting them in order for them to get taken. Like,
yeah. But at the same time, it's like, okay, would you take your kid to a factory because you don't have a babysitter? There has to be limits to where you take your child to work, knowing the level of danger. And like the way them glass stairs was set up, that didn't look very kid friendly to me.
Right. You're completely right. She was wrong for bringing him to work. To me, it just didn't spell neglect. She should have been able to work a menu and just have some, supervision, a caseworker check in with them here and there type thing, as opposed to fully losing custody of her child and him being put in a protective care system until she could show up for a court date to prove that she was a fit parent. That seemed like it didn't match what was going on.
I feel like the system picks and chooses the type of parent that they decide to do this type of stuff to as well. Especially she's being a low income single mother. Like if for some reason, it just seems like they're almost sometimes harder on the demands of that individual, which may be the reason why a lot of Black children end up in the foster care system to begin with. But go ahead.
I was just going to say, why is having a child custody battle? Why is the answer to that robbing banks? Like after D from Wayans Brothers left, who was the social worker, Cleo looked at TT and said, "You know what you got to do. No, I need to get my baby. Why is robbing the bank what I need to do to get my baby?" I don't see how them two went together. Okay, maybe it was just me. It didn't make sense. I don't know.
It didn't make sense. It was just like, wow. Okay. That's what you guys are going to do now after this. I mean, I thought maybe if the scenes had flipped, like Stoney's brother got shot. No, the baby had the accident at the workplace and then Stoney's brother got shot. Then it would have all made sense because then everybody could have been amped up and angry. Yeah, fuck the system.
They said what? What did they have said?
Fuck your sister.
So I can understand your argument of the baby drinking bleach as being a catalyst for everything, but I will counter that with no, it's still the police in my mind, because then Dr. Cox just decided that he was going to start doing like these unauthorized tales. Because remember, he went to, I guess, his superior or whatever in the police department and was like, hey, do you remember that kid that we murdered?
He said, no.
Don't you understand the N or the O? And so he asked to tell them, and dude was like, no. And then he went and did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and then he was like so excited at this police work that he had did. And he was like, I knew these women ran together. Yeah, motherfucker, you saw them all together when you murdered her brother and she tried to physically attack you because you said that there would be an investigation into it.
Right.
Like you saw them all together then, but you didn't put it together. Then you had to go do this illegal tail monitoring stakeout and take pictures of them without their knowledge in order for you to connect the dots.
That shit was crazy.
Look at our taxpayer dollars just always hard at work.
Looking for trouble.
Okay, so how did you feel? I want to get your insight on this. How did you feel about the relationship between Blair Underwood and Stoney?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. I feel like that was like, maybe it is still a thing for me, like a fantasy, if you will, like a guy that is just so devoted and so into teaching me like the new arts and all this other stuff and being so romantic and all that. And it was just like, of course she would have this dark, deep secret that she's keeping from this wonderful man that makes it nearly impossible for them to be together. That is my theatrical voice.
Oh, okay.
My Shakespearean. But that's what it feels like. And it's like, well, if she doesn't deserve you. Come to me, Keith. Come to me. That's how I feel about the relationship.
Okay, Keith, well, now you know where to go. I felt like their relationship gave me like hella like Pretty Woman vibes. Like like he's from Harvard and he went to business school and from New York or from DC and then went to New York and is now living in LA, and she's from the hood, as he called it. And he just saw her and whisked her and is bringing her into his life and dressing her up as his little Barbie doll. And that's kind of early signs of abuse, like, because I think it's because I've seen Blair Underwood play the good guy in this one, and then that same character as the bad guy in whatever that Madea movie was, where he was whooping her ass and he had all the money. I was like, oh, is this how he was getting them? He was whining and dining them and dressing them up and all of this.
Oh my gosh. You know, I've never connected those two. Oh my God, why'd you do that?
Okay, I'm sorry. Keith, no. We'll just look at Keith as amazing, because he did say something where I was like, oh, Stoney tough, because I'd have fell for that. When she was like, who do you think you are? He said, I'll be your genie if you let me. I said, well, come here. I got to rub you, right? Yeah, I got to rub you for this to work. Let me rub you, Keith.
Oh my God. That was the best line ever. I was like instant, like, yes, you can enter. You may enter. Oh my God. Yes. So, I mean, I felt like she wasn't ready to be with him.
She literally lost her brother, like, what, a week before?
Right. And the way she responded to him, like, about it, like, was like, I'm dealing with it. Like, are you? Because that sounds real crump, dealing with it. Just, not even a tear. Like, it was just, okay. All right. I was a little concerned about her, affect and discussing her brother's death with him. I'm not going to lie. That was a little concerning.
Yes. That would have been a red flag.
Right. Had that been the session. So tell me more about why you say that you're doing this, but your body language is doing another. I don't know.
Or there is no body language at all, just complete flat affect.
Right.
And we're talking about something terrible, like your brother being murdered last week.
Right.
But unfortunately, that is something that people do try to do. That is something that she said when Kimberly Elise asked, well, TT asked her, like, all right, well, are you going to go out with him? She was like, well, maybe he could put a smile on my face. And jumping into, because it did seem like Keith was, while he said he didn't want anything from her, he was definitely open to building with her. And unfortunately, she just wasn't at a place where that would have even been healthy, even if she wasn't robbing banks. And unfortunately, that is something that people do, jump into relationships or new situationships to make themselves feel better when things are going on. And that is only going to create situations that perpetuate pain. Or you're not in a healthy place. And then you end up hurting that person who, like in Keith's situation, really just wanted to add to her life. And so I kind of felt bad for Keith. And so I guess I agree with you. Come here, Keith.
I know, like, come here, she don't deserve you. But I did have a question though. How did Keith get to keep his job?
Because they didn't know that Keith knew her. Oh, wait, yes, they did. He brought her up to the whole. The police didn't know it. The people, only the higher ups at the bank. So the bank tellers and such would not have known, like only the higher ups, and the higher ups probably didn't have to watch the footage, maybe.
But he left when it all happened, remember? She called him and told him to leave. They can see that. You get what I'm saying? Like if there's a real investigation, they're investigating that relationship. There's clearly a relationship. And they said it within their like their rundown of their description at the meeting he was in, that they know someone inside the bank. And as soon as they said that, he gets a phone call from Jada. Right. Ooh,
we're going to have to revisit that during prognosis. That's good stuff. Well, it seems like it's about that time. Let's get into these diagnosing of the characters. Let's save Jada for last because we have the most insight and background on her. So if we're saving her for last, who would you like to start with?
Well, I would go with TT.
All right, TT.
Hey, TT. I think, so here's my issue. I feel like it was hard for me to diagnose them, these Black women with the diagnosis from this white ass book. I said it.
We say it frequently on this show that this DSM book that we use and have titled our show from is a white supremacist tool that is used to perpetuate the oppression of Black, brown, queer, and poor lives.
Yes. But they were so gracious enough to give us a little section in the back that could consider some of the reasons why maybe.
They said, here's all the oppression, but we'll give you a little trinkets, little shillings for you to use to
right. Some that encompass all people. Other conditions that may be a focus of clinical attention is a section within the DSM. I realized that, to me, had I just seen these girls just hanging out or whatever, like they were, no bank robbery, I think I would have had a hard time diagnosing them with anything from the DSM, other than from things in the book, like behind in this section. So one of them was occupational problems, and so with occupational problems. There is other problem related to employment, and it says this category should be used when an occupational problem is the focus of clinical attention or has an impact on the individual's treatment or prognosis. Areas to be considered include problems with employment or in the work environment, including unemployment, recent change of job, threat of job, loss of job, job dissatisfaction, stress, work schedule, uncertainty and etc. So there's like a whole bunch of stuff. And then other discord with boss. And so she was having the problem with Luther and her checks. Okay.
If you don't like working at Luther's janitorials, take your broke ass home.
I know. And he was so mean to her sweet soul. She was just a sweet little soul. And I think, had she not been in poverty, and there's another one with economic problems. That's another section. And it has a list of one of the diagnosis being lack of adequate food or safe drinking water. And then another one is extreme poverty and low income. So I would give her extreme poverty and low income. And that's basically because of the fact, of course, again, she's like, after they take out taxes from my check, I don't have enough money for childcare, and if you don't have enough money for childcare, how can you afford to go to work? And so the cycle continues. So that's what I have for TT. Did you want to talk about TT, or you want me to go with Frankie and Cleo?
Yes, I did want to mention on TT. I also definitely taking into consideration all of the very important societal, socioeconomic issues that you highlighted. I also still wanted to diagnose her with generalized anxiety disorder, because I felt like throughout the film, she kind of displayed some characteristics where I was like, let me look into that. And then when I went through the criteria, I was like, yeah, I can see that. And so listing some of the criteria, excessive anxiety or worry occurring more days than at least 6 months about a number of events or activities. Granted, she had justifiable worries. She did have, like you were saying, with the extreme poverty, not being able to afford certain things. She had some justifiable anxieties. It also seemed like she just kind of was also keyed up and on edge, which is one of the criteria as well. Like anytime something would happen, she would jump, like she would appear frazzled as well. The individual finds it difficult to control the worry. And I felt like she was sometimes having difficulty concentrating or mind going blank. I remember when I was younger, I was like, is TT slow? And then now looking at it now, I'm like, well, if she did really have or is having symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder, that sometimes completely going blank or the inability to concentrate can be a part of that. Like when the new guy came in and said, Luther don't clean here no more. I'm such and such. And he put out his hand, and Frankie and Cleo went to go get the money. And she was like, oh, hey, how you doing? And then, oh yeah. And then took off running. That was an example of that to me. And the disturbance is not attributable to the physiological effects of a substance, drug abuse, or any other medical condition. We don't know of her having any other medical conditions. And we know that she didn't engage in any other substances because she wasn't drinking. And when Cleo was passing the weed, she kind of was like, ugh, stinky.
She was so cute.
Right. I definitely feel like some hoodlum took advantage of her and got her pregnant and then left her high and dry. And she has been trying to kind of piece together what life would look like for her and her child, her son, and picking up those pieces. I would have liked to know if TT had any other supports though. Like, did she have a mom? Did she have a dad, aunts and uncles, just family, anybody else to help care for her? And I feel like I guess it was probably intentional because it shows good representation. Like these women really needed each other and needed to take care of each other. But I also would have just liked her character development a little bit more as well. But her being the least known of the actresses, I can see why maybe her character didn't get as much to expound upon there. Yeah.
Ooh, I have a fun fact. Did you know that role was actually offered to Brandy?
Glad she turned it down. Not anything against Brandy. I absolutely love Brandy. I
don't think it would have fit her.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I just don't think that she would have been able to bring the same things that Kimberly at least brought. And as well as we knew her, I think we needed to not know TT.
Right.
For her to come across that same way. And so I am glad that it ended up how it ended up, and that Brandy went on to do, I Still Know She Did Last Summer, because that was a good movie. And she did a real good job in that movie.
She did. All right. So we got Frankie. Let me tell you what I gave my old girl, Frankie. Frankie. I gave her occupational problems, other problem related to employment as well. I mean, all things considered, homegirl, she got fired from her job because of some shit she ain't even had nothing to do with. You know what I'm saying? So that's
almost
what
got
happened.
blown away. Your tired ass bank.
She almost got blew away. And again, the description and going in there, the discord with boss, the work environment, hostile work environment. A bank robbery sound real hostile to me. So, those are all reasons, for that to be for her. That's all I got. And
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were about to go there. Yes, I am diagnosing Frankie with post-traumatic stress disorder. I think that her experience before the opening credits even finished running this movie is so just like, boom, here it is. I feel like all of those experiences kind of led her to the place where Cleo was like, yo, we could take a bank. And then because she was in such a place of traumatic response, it seemed okay to her. I think she was really reliving that trauma and like, how can she heal from that and be victorious? Because she kind of presented as powerless in that moment. She went into what we call fight, flight, or freeze. Whenever people are presented with a trauma, your brain is designed to protect you. And so it's going to go to some automatic responses. Now you can either fight, which is get the hell up out of there. You can, that's flight. Nothing faster than a pew. Okay. That's flight. You can fight, which is then you jump into action, whatever that might be, be it fighting back or be it whatever it is, just jumping into action, movement, doing something in that moment. Or you can go into freeze. And that's really what she did. She was like shaking and I don't know, hell no, I don't want nothing to do with this. And he ended up shooting the lady right in front of her. The blood got all on her face. They didn't even let her wipe it off while they were interrogating her. She still had this woman's blood on her face. My goodness. But and all of that, she was definitely having a traumatic response. And so she is really in her mind trying to protect herself. And how can I come out of the situation, this trauma experience of bank robbery, and be the hero instead of the victim in this situation? And I think that is what took her to Frankie want to rob the bank. Blow up the bank. And that was her way of kind of healing from all of that. But I definitely think that it was a maladaptive coping skill, that it wasn't something healthy. And because of that, she wasn't able to, or in a position to healthily heal in a healthy way. I don't know. I'm making up words. She wasn't able to do that. And so even once she got the power back from robbing the bank, it kind of felt like it wasn't enough. And I think that she definitely did want to get out the area. So I don't think that she wanted to continue to rob banks, but she did want to get out of that area, and she wanted to separate, continue to dissociate herself from that situation. And so she was going to do whatever it was that she had to do to get out of that situation. And so, yes, I diagnosed her with post-traumatic stress disorder, where she directly experienced the traumatic event, was having recurrent involuntary and intrusive, distressing memories of the traumatic event, intense or prolonged psychological distress at exposure to internal or external cues that symbolize or resemble an aspect of the traumatic events. And so her then, continuing to rob banks and having marked physiological reactions as well. I think that, and there are more criteria. We can keep going. Post-traumatic stress does get, you can get very specific, but one thing that confused me, maybe I don't know if I'm just paying too much attention. So if the last bank was the most difficult bank to rob, it was the biggest bank, no one has successfully ever robbed it. And Frankie has the most inside knowledge of the inner workings of bank systems and banking in general. Why the hell was she the getaway driver on that one?
I know. I was thinking the same thing when I saw it this time. I never paid attention to it before, but I was like, why was she not in there? That was really dumb.
Yeah.
Also, that last scene with that stupid ass security guard coming out of nowhere. Like, why? Where'd you come from? Why? I'm going to be the hero today.
Like, you whole have the damn FBI here. Why are you coming out fucking and shooting your little...
out the woodwork.
Andy Griffith little pistol.
His little coach
wagon. Down and high in the back with everybody else.
Right. His little coach wagon pistol. That was a cheap shot. See that to me is the systemic, the imagery, the storytelling with the storytelling. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that is common. Like, we standing here having a conversation. Here comes some white police officer feeling like they're threatened and has the feeling that they need to discharge their weapon. Like,
they had a gun. I'm the good guy with the gun. No, fool. They was protecting. They were literally putting their weapons down.
They were. And so this is the same rhetoric. This is the same storyline that we see in our headlines constantly with Black people and people who wear blue. And it's
that's how much they ain't even like him. He didn't get to wear blue. He had on tan.
I know he wasn't even a real guy, like a real cop or nothing. Like, he was like security with a gun. Like, they didn't even give him that gun.
Because even though TT did kill Lusa, she did not deserve to die.
She did not. Oh, wait. She did.
Did that just change your opinion?
I was so Johnny Cochran with that other one, that other point. I had it. I was so good. What was good? And then you lost me. This is why I couldn't be an attorney, because I would have been like, ooh.
Your Honor, I would like to request a recess because you're a liar. Where he was like, I object. And the judge was like, on what grounds? He was like, because it's hurting my case.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly how I feel. Okay. She was scared. She was scared. Okay, now this is going back to the point of guns and who should be using weapons and who should be getting trained for weapons, because a lot of these police officers are similar to TT. They don't want to shoot. They don't use their weapon regularly. But when you don't use your weapon regularly, when you don't train, you tend to get nervous. And when you're in a situation when it doesn't call for you to draw your gun, you're likely to draw your gun. And so the same situation that happened to TT here is likely and kill somebody is likely what happened to individuals, what happens to some police officers. Not trying to be on their defense, but just to give two perspectives on a situation that, in this situation, TT experienced. She experienced both perspectives. Being the person that gets to hold the gun, that's a lot of power. I don't think a lot of people realize, like, when you hold a weapon in your hand, you control the outcome of the person that you pointed at, basically. You know what I'm saying? And if you're going to shoot, you want to shoot to kill now. And that's what they train you to do. So it's like, when you have that amount of power and your life is threatened, like that fight or, whatever.
Fight or freeze.
Freeze. Whatever. No, you'll never freeze. I'm Black Panther. I never freeze. That's why it's never in my vocabulary. So anyway, so you have this gun and you have all these, these feelings, this adrenaline, all these things happening on both ends, whether you're a police officer who is not getting enough training, who doesn't go to marksmanship, who didn't do very well on his marksmanship, can accidentally harm someone and then lose control and start shooting the motherfucker up even more. Not saying that that's a rational reason to shoot our Black people, but I understand it. I understand the perspective, especially because of her. Sorry.
No, I completely understand that. I definitely think that generalized anxiety is a part of that, especially for TT. Like, even like you were saying, without proper training. And when they went to the He Man Woman Haters Club, Dr. Dre's Evil Lair, where he had the illegal gun range and was supplying them with the weapons, she did not like the practice. Like, they were really shooting in the range. They were showing them how to use it. They were practicing. She didn't like it and just stopped practicing. And so that speaks to that. That speaks to the need to take gun handling very serious. If you are going to handle, you need to make sure that you are trained. You need to make sure that you know what you're doing, because in those responses, if you ever do need to use one, it's not going to be a comfortable situation. That's not when you're using them, unless of course you're hunting and you have time to sit, prepare, aim, and then shoot. But if you are using them in concert with other people, it's not going to be a comfortable situation.
It's a matter of life and death.
Exactly. It is important. And someone who has anxiety and is already keyed up, already on edge, already fragile and frantic in that way, it has the potential to be very dangerous. Like, she just got scared and thought that Luther was going to kill Cleo, so she shot him.
That's all it takes. That is all.
So with that said, what you got for Cleo?
Actually, this is Queen Latifah's first leading role, FYI. Very first leading role.
She did all of this in her first. She is just amazing. Queen Latifah deserves. I want the world to just give her all of her things. She deserves them. Quit playing with her. Put some respect on her name. She does everything. She sings. She acts. She raps. She produces. She directs. She creates. She's the greatest. And I think that y'all just get so hung up on whether or not she like fish or beef that you refuse to just pay attention to how awesome her everything is. And she deserves all of the things. And y'all need to hurry up and give them to her.
She needs all of the applause. Unfortunately, her character does not. Her character was batshit crazy. Just kidding.
But she played the hell out of that batshit crazy person. She did a good-ass job for this to be. I mean, she was already doing Living Single at this time. She had already done guest spots on other television shows as well. So acting wasn't new to her. But for her, this to be her first leading role in a motion picture, she did that. She did it.
She did. And she did it while she was under. It looks like she was under some type of substance. And I believe that substance was cannabis. So I gave her substance medication-induced anxiety disorder, with cannabis use disorder being mild, with the onset during intoxication. The reason why I say that is because she pulled that gun out on Stoney while she was high and drunk. And it seems as if she has her most violent reactions when she is under the influence. The end.
All right. So I have a completely different diagnosis. Don't hate me. But we
never get along with diagnosis, and it's fine.
It is. But I mean, we always see both sides of it. So I feel like that's important as well. And that's why it's important for us to case conceptualize on this show for the purpose of entertainment and in real life, so that you know what you're doing.
Indeed.
I diagnosed Cleo, whose real name was Cleopatra, when they was given their government names on the news at the end. Cleopatra Sims. I diagnosed her with major depressive disorder. And I felt that we watched her in the film go from a moderate to a more severe level of depression. I felt like she was using weed and alcohol to help cope with that depression. And it just got to a point where it wasn't helping anymore. I think that is why we were able to see her blow through her money so fast. She was trying to do things to make herself feel better, make herself feel more comfortable with just herself. And she needed more money because what they had wasn't enough, because what she was trying to fix was not something that necessarily that money could really even buy. And so she got to a place where at the end, I really felt like she knew she wasn't going to make it. I feel like that was an act of sacrifice. And I feel like she might not have done that if she was not depressed. I feel like that was almost an act of suicide, and knowing that she might not make it out of that situation. And which is why she told them, just take the money, take it with y'all. I'll get with y'all later. But for major depressive disorder, some of the criteria is depressed mood most of the day, nearly every day, markedly, I hate that word, and they use it so much. Markedly. Diminished interest in interest or pleasure in all or almost all activities. It didn't really seem like she was happy with the situations that she had. I think that level of being in that constant just trying to get by as well, it definitely adds another level of strain and stress on top of that as well. Fatigue or loss of energy is something that we don't know if she necessarily had, but we definitely saw her with a heightened sense of energy once they completed that first bank robbery, where she ended up accidentally shooting into the ceiling because she was so excited. Feelings of worthlessness or excessive inappropriate guilt. And that feelings of worthlessness is what really stuck out to me, and what really made me lean more heavily towards the major depressive diagnosis is because when her and Stoney was sitting on the steps and they were both apologizing for the situation with her pulling the gun and her slapping her, she was like, we ain't nothing but hood rats. Like, she said, you're not okay with that, but I'm fine with it. And she was like, well, where do you see yourself? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And she said, I can't think about 5 years. I don't care. I'm just trying to get through today. And those feelings of that expression of worthlessness and hopelessness is what made me feel like, I really just feel like Cleo was suffering from depression, using socially acceptable ways to try to cope with, be it with her, being up under her girl, smoking weed, getting drunk, hanging out, and those things just weren't enough for her. And I think that she felt that maybe pulling off these capers would help her feel better, because then she would have the money. But then when she had the money, she still didn't feel whole. And the excitement of completing the bank robbery was fleeting. Like, oh, I have this adrenaline rush, but then I can't keep it up.
Yeah, I can see that. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I wanted to talk about her lack of goals or interest in setting goals or interest in the future planning and things like that. But I did want to say that randomly, fun fact, Dr. Dre actually had his own high-speed chase, which made his commentary about her high-speed chase even more interesting. Because especially once he said, oh, no, the helicopters done got involved, because that's what actually was happening with his high-speed chase in 1993. So there's that.
President of He-Man Women Haters Club. I also wanted to mention, I don't know why it sticks out to me so much every time I think about this movie, but that lineup scene where after TT killed Luther and the police pick up Cleo for suspicion of involvement, and they put her in the lineup, she had that white woman shook. Ooh.
She did. But I mean that gesture was the most obvious gesture. I'm like, okay, hello, no one's gonna call that shit out. Hello, what are we doing? Are we supposed to be paying attention to details here? Like, it was like, this is a direct, like, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to be the last one to turn around, and I'm going to pat my left breast. Like, seriously?
Not even her pocket, her breast.
Left breast. Exactly.
But the again, to her acting skill, the way she was able to use her face to express in that moment was so dope. it was just so dope. And like, even after like TT shot her, like Cleo jumped right into action, went and got her ID and was like, yo, we know who you are. Like, this whole situation is fucked. Like, everything is messed up now, but this is our insurance. We know who you are. Like, don't play, bitch.
Right.
And so her getting picked up, I was so glad that she had it. She definitely was able to intimidate. The intensity that Queen Latifah was able to give in that scene, she needed an award for that. And I don't know if she got a Soul Train award or whatever it was that, you know,
it was awarded.
We hold in high accolade in our community,
BET.
but she deserved one
award.
because the more acclaimed bodies, I'm sure, did not recognize this movie in the way that it needed to. But the intensity that she gave in that lineup, I was like, well, shit, maybe she didn't. Nope, I don't see the clear or nothing either. Nope. Mm-mm. And the white woman wasn't lying because Queen Latifah didn't shoot Luther.
That's true. And she couldn't say nothing then because she's scared. Because she know who has her information now. But see, TT wasn't in the criminal justice system. You know?
And that's what he said when he picked Cleo up. He said, I think it was you because you're the only one with priors.
Exactly. So there were other reason why they got caught up in stuff too, because of her priors. And I feel like they could have gotten away with a lot of it had it not been for Scooby-Doo.
Police just feel like once you commit a crime once, then you're just a criminal for the rest of your life. And let's just pick you up and throw you into lineups where people can incorrectly select you. And then you can serve life in prison for something that you didn't do. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Steps off soapbox. But yes, so all of that brings us to Stoney. Oh, wait. Before we do Stoney, I had a thought.
What?
And I always do this. I want to diagnose one more person.
Ooh.
I want to diagnose Ursula Ass with selective mutism. Frankie said, what's the fuck wrong with this bitch? She don't talk?
Why
bitch ain't say nothing through the whole film.
I was going to say that about TT. That's so funny. I was like, I don't know what to diagnose everybody with. I'm going to just randomly give people stuff and then...
Ursula with selective mutism, because she literally said nothing through the entire movie.
Listen, because she was an extra, she wasn't needed.
She wasn't an extra. She had a whole name. We knew her name. We knew the plot. She was giving out whole lap dances.
Ursula.
I have friends named Ursula. Don't do that.
I mean, it's a beautiful name. It's very charming. Lovely.
She giving lap dances, everybody walking. She keep on giving the lap dance. Don't even stop and be like, who came in? Nope, she's so confident in her shit that she continued the lap dance.
Listen, you don't stop, the show must go on, okay?
That's how you know I'm not a performer at heart. I'm
She's not interested with the bullshit. That is why. She had nothing to say to you hoes.
And Frankie was trying to, hey girl, cute outfit. And that bitch was like, fill my cup, please. Silently, because she ain't say nothing.
Fill it up and let it overflow. That's exactly how she had
Very different. But yes. Okay, so do we agree though? Selective mutism, Ursula? Okay.
Yes.
See, we agree. All right, now we can go to Stoney.
All right, Stoney. So what's interesting about Stoney, of course, we know, thanks to the detective, he let us know that they actually lost both their parents in a car accident. And so, of course, I think there could be issues with depression and anxiety related to that, as far as grief. But had that not been the case, I would have just looked at it with problem related to crime, interaction with legal system. So, a victim of crime. So that's also in the DSM. But other than that, I didn't give her a actual diagnosis.
I did.
What'd you do?
Because I felt like so much of everything that was going on with Stoney was a result of the experiences, the traumatic events that were going on. And it was so much complex trauma. Like it was just one thing on top of the other, on top of the other. Everything was going on. And it was because of a movie, of course. Everything was happening all at once. I definitely wanted to list the bereavement of her parents. They said it was 5 years ago. And it sounded like she became the full caregiver of her brother. I remember Cleo at the beginning of the movie saying, you spoiled that boy. You've been taking care of him ever since mom and daddy died. Mm-hmm. And so she jumped into that role and probably displaced a lot of the processing that needed to happen of that grief because she jumped into that caregiver role. I think that sometimes it serves us as a community, but at the same time, we still need to offer space for people to heal. I think that a lot of times, especially in our community, when things happen, we jump into, I have to take care of everyone else. Mm-hmm. But these people need me. And so we don't allow ourselves the opportunity and the space to take care of ourselves as well. And it definitely feels like that is where Stoney was. She just, okay, I have to do all these things. I have to, like, even when she was telling Keith, I worked really hard to keep a roof over me and my brother's head and food in our mouths and all of these things. And I was working real hard for him to go to college. It sounded like that was going to be her time to then focus on herself once he went to college. But his passing was another traumatic event on top of that. Because of all of those things, I diagnosed her with acute stress disorder. I felt like even her robbing the banks was a result of was really a result of the loss of her brother. Again, that over policing creating more crime. I don't think that she would have been down to rob the banks had her brother not been murdered by the police by a misidentification. For acute stress disorder, there is the exposure to actual or threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violation. And she directly witnessed the person in the event that it occurred to, seeing her brother running up to his body, holding him in her arms, even though you said she's not supposed to touch the body. But she definitely was there and saw it, saw his body and being riddled with bullets. And that was one thing that did frustrate me, is when the police officer ran to him. And yes, he felt bad because he knew that wasn't the person that he was there for. And he was screaming at him like, stay with me, don't go. Like, how he is riddled with bullets. This is not like y'all shot him one time. This is not like there was a small accident. Y'all riddled his body with bullets. The fact that he is still even able to look at you is showing that he was fighting with every little bit that he had. Y'all riddled him with bullets. But again, back to acute stress disorder, those intrusive symptoms, which we technically don't know firsthand because we don't get into their feelings as much, but we definitely can assume that there was psychological distress and reactions that were happening with her. Negative mood. She did seem very irritable.
Obviously, I mean, she had a lot of loss.
Mm-hmm. And then that's even like we said before, where she was, when talking about Keith, is like, maybe he could put a smile on my face because girl, right now, I don't have one to give.
Okay.
Dissociative symptoms. I think her creating that was able to go in and rob the bank. I think regular Stoney as herself might not have felt like they had that, but once Frankie kind of pushed them into it, it did seem like they kind of all each dissociated into their separate person who was able to go and able to do those things and able to rob the bank and feel comfortable with that. Avoiding distressing memories, thoughts, or feelings about or closely associated with the traumatic events, like how she kind of glossed over and creepily just said that it was okay, that she was dealing with it, and telling Keith that her brother was murdered last week. Definitely the irritable behavior and angry outbursts that her and Cleo were having could be witnessed there. Hypervigilance, which is like kind of always being on edge. What's going on? When TT came in, did you lock that door? All of those things. Exaggerated startled response, problems with concentration. And I just felt like I didn't want to diagnose her with anything that didn't highlight the fact that all of this is a response to all of the situations that were happening to her. I definitely felt like the robbing the bank was her reaction to everything else that was going on, because every other situation, it felt like things were happening to her, and actually participating in a bank robbery was an action where she was able to do something instead of something happening to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, she did. I mean, she had a lot that came with her. An interesting fact about this particular character, they was going to make her actually a crackhead.
I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, they decided to write that out.
Yeah, that would have been terrible.
I know. Maybe it's because of the pussy selling part, like only crackhead.
Which is funny because at the beginning of the movie, when they talking about Darnell and them, which is Junior from Players Club and Dub C for some reason, and some other guy, she's like, good thing we're not no crackhead, hard up criminals like them, which is weird because they wanted her to be a crack. That's weird.
Sure did. And actually, Jada actually wanted the Cleo part.
I'm really glad she did not get that.
I know, right? Can you imagine her being this little like, no, you can't.
I cannot see her patting the pocket and me being like, oh.
Right, like I'm scared. Yeah, so that was interesting. But yeah, Jada Pinkett, Stoney, I'm sorry. She definitely had to experience a lot. And I think while the storyline seems to start with Frankie, it seems as if Stoney's story is what's really kind of evolving throughout the movie, you know?
Definitely.
And so I think she went through so much that it is almost expected, and it makes everybody happy that she was able to get away with the money. How did you feel about her being able to walk away with the money? Were you happy for her, or were you like, or what? What was your feeling?
I felt like they just needed an ending to the movie. It kind of was like, so she go to Mexico and then she's driving a Jeep and then that's the end. That's it. Okay. I'm glad she got away. I'm very happy that she got away. But I was like, okay, that's the end of the movie. But I think I was so caught up in Cleo and Frankie's death that I was just like, okay.
Right. You know, it's like, damn. And then she witnessed it. So that makes it even worse. But then also I'm like, okay, if she gets away and she sees the detective and she sees the detective see him, like, is she gonna get caught? Was that a chance for a set it off too?
I feel like he knew he was an asshole. I feel like he knew, and that's what he kept telling them. And he kept telling them, like, this is enough. Like, he was enough. Like, we don't need any more death. And so I think he was just at the point where, like, damn, I done fucked up this woman's whole life. Let me just let her go to Mexico. Like, I'm just, shit, don't nobody else see her. Just, bitch, go, run.
And I should get on this random bus to Mexico. Like, is that how we did travel back then? We could just
She picked up a sombrero and got on the bus. No passport, no nothing. I guess that I was like, well, maybe that's how they do in LA since they so close. As a kid, I didn't know.
Right. And then I'm like, how do we, like, ma'am, you in my seat. Excuse me. She in my
Ain't no seats. Ain't no side seats on the bus.
It'll be just her luck.
But she had a bag full of money, so she could have bought a ticket. True. Or been like, oh, I'm so sorry. Well, let me pay for my ticket now. But
no. She was on a high tail run, like knees to chest. She ain't had no time to buy no ticket. And even if she was going to try to buy one, ain't nobody trying to hear that while you on the bus. Get your ass off the bus, Rosa. That's what they would tell her.
Well, I'm glad she got her ass on the bus and survived, because everyone else died, which kind of makes prognosis hard. So very specifically, if you were, for some reason, in Mexico and you were treating African-American English-speaking women with traumatic experiences, very, very niche market, but apparently needed because of, obviously, of this movie. What would you do to help Jada Pinkett? Because clearly she can afford care because she has money.
And she has all the money. So for the first few sessions, I just fuck around with it, be like, yo, all right, so you got to download this soundtrack. This will heal your heart. It'll be the Set It Off soundtrack. I'm just kidding. What would be my prognosis for her having to deal with? I mean, I know that at some point we're going to have to build that rapport because she's not going to trust me. She's not going to be able to tell me the real story. She's going to have this type of persona. So it depends on what she's willing to share. I mean, because she's going to have to keep her composure or her identity concealed for the most part if she's going to want to continue to be out on the loose.
Y'all in Mexico. She didn't kill nobody. Ain't no real extradition unless, so I feel like ain't no duty to warn there. You're not committing a crime right now. No, I don't need to tell nobody.
No, I'm not telling nobody nothing.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think that's going to even be a thing because, like, she's not going to be able to show her identity or she's not going to make that a part of her story, which makes it a hard way to work with someone if they're holding back a piece of themselves,
Yeah. I get what you're saying now, because even with Keith, like she was saying certain stuff, but she wasn't revealing entire situations. So conducive with her character, she probably wouldn't, go in too deep. She would just be like, I've had a lot of loss. I lost a brother.
Yes. And so it's like, okay, well, I could work with that. But then the way she acts is like she got it under control. So I don't think that any of this per se would be the reason why she would come in. I think it would probably be trying to acclimate and get used to a new lifestyle and being free, having the guilt and shame, I think would be the biggest thing that we would have to work with. But again, because there's this wall up to keep her identity, I don't know if we would really get anywhere because we have to figure out the root cause of the shame and identity. And she probably wouldn't share that.
I definitely feel like you're right. I feel like maybe we could work on some like survivor's guilt because I'm sure that has definitely got to be there now, especially after seeing Frankie murdered in the street, who was shot in her back, which is also supposed to be against police protocol. And so, definitely work through some of that survivor's guilt, using, like you were saying, that the identity piece, the acclimating to a new lifestyle, a new culture, a new area, by being in a different country, potentially some, career counseling, because that money's only going to last for so long and she has to create a sustained lifestyle. So that might be something that we end up working on. I just want to give her a hug. Hey, bitch, right? Just cry. Let this shit out. Just which, I mean, she did get to do when she cried into the money towards the end when she was at the hotel, but she need a whole lot more.
Yeah, she is, because that definitely wasn't enough. Because I think it definitely got split up at some point between her and Frankie. So, she didn't get all of it.
But I think that's a good sign. As far as prognosis, the fact that, because before she wasn't crying, she was flat affect whenever she talked about anything. So the fact that she was able to cry and laugh, I do feel like my outlook for her for healing is going to be more positive than completely like, no, it's just not going to happen, despite all of the things that she's gone through. But I think that the fact that she has gone through so much and been forced to carry on before has her with certain level of coping skills for her to get through. And I think that now that she is allowing herself to express feelings, because she does feel free, she does feel like she is in a safer space where she can do that. I think that my outlook for her is a lot more positive. I think that whether she receives, I don't think that she will be able to have healthy relationships anytime soon. But I think that she definitely can go on a journey where she can heal and be okay.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to tell you, I had some really good news that came from Ursula. Ursula is actually doing well. She has a self-published book. She
right up. Did she send you an email? Because she ain't said shit.
She did. She sent me an email. She said, actually, I just want you to know I got a self-published book.
Okay. She can do that.
How to find your voice.
Speaking engagements about it.
How to find your voice. How to open your throat chakra. Check it out. It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. Yes, check it out. How to open your throat chakra. Fighting select mutism.
Well, selective mutism is oftentimes tied to a certain level of anxiety, and there is a reason that individuals have on why they are mute in certain situations and not in others. Sometimes there's a trauma response is the reason, but that's not always the case. I have worked with students that there is no reports of trauma. There's no knowledge of trauma, but that child just had a certain level of anxiety of speaking in other situations, but felt comfortable in certain ones. And so there is the ability to build trust, to build those skills so that person does feel more comfortable in speaking in other situations. So I could see Ursula finding her voice, clearing her throat chakra, the blockages that must have been there. After, of course, grieving the loss, maybe she uses the loss of Cleo as a way to catapult her to find her voice, now knowing that it's necessary because she has lost someone who she loved very deeply. Taking that heavy ass scarf off from around her neck in the middle of LA, I'm sure helped with the throat blockages while she was watching the news. So does Keith find you? Is that part of his prognosis? Does he find you? Is that what happens? Was that?
Yeah, that's what happened. And things didn't work out. But I thank God for Keith every day because he helped me learn so much about myself. He helped me learn so much about the culture and whatever. So shout out to Keith.
Oh, yeah, really? How did he do that after he lost his job and went to jail as an accessory to bank robbery? And that's one thing that I felt really, because I felt like in the movie, he just wanted to know that she was okay. He just wanted to, make sure that everything was okay with her. And I felt like even as a kid watching it, I was like, oh no, he's going to feel like she used him to get the inside and that all of this was fake and that she didn't really care about him. And they didn't make his character appear that way. Like it didn't seem like he felt like she was using him, like she betrayed him.
Because he knows how much he went after her. He realized how thirsty he really was. I think
not thirsty, but
thirsty.
Okay.
Got it all over my computer. And so that's why he was acting. He was like, you know what? I put myself into this situation because I was being thirsty. But yeah.
So does he lose his job and go to jail for accessory to bank robbery?
No, girl, he takes me. We have a thing. And I was like, I told him, I said, you need
how if you his therapist? That's not how prognosis works.
I said we needed to see. I said okay, fine. He does lose his job.
So since he can't be with you, fuck it, he loses his job.
The deadbeat. I don't know what to do with him. What's your prognosis? If
my
no
mind,
one can have him, I can't. If I can't have him, I can't have him. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, I heard you. We got it. I don't want him. He was fine, but he is yours. So in my mind, only the corny white dude who was cracking the really lame jokes with him throughout the movie recognizes that is Jada Pinkett or Stoney, that they are the same person. So he is willing to keep his secret because I'm sure Keith knows some creepy, disgusting, weird shit about him because sometimes, there's always that creepy guy who you just know is into some weird shit. And I feel like Keith probably saw like his porn history or something on his work computer. And so they're keeping each other's secrets. And so Keith is able to keep his job. However, he does develop trust issues in all of his future relationships. And so it takes him lots of therapy for him to be able to allow another woman within. And so that is why none of his relationships work because one, they are not you, of course. And because he finds it hard to trust because how sometimes it can be very difficult for men once they have that heartbreak where they feel like they are keeping it all the way 100 with a woman and they don't get that reciprocated. Then they start to view all women in that same schema. And so I feel like that is what happens to him. However, because of all of his insight that he has, all of his intentional desire for self-growth, that he is able to work through that, have a healthy, happy relationship with multiple children. And
multiple children with me. Just kidding.
Sure.
Okay, so I just wanted to comment on his one. Was it a 1-bedroom? What is it? What's the apartment? Like the setup? Like how was it that she was walking in where it seemed like his bed was? Did you see the bed? Then there was a couch.
Maybe it was a loft.
That's what a loft looks like in LA. I don't know.
Girl, stuff the people is living how they can. People are turning their garages into full on studio apartments to make money. Living in LA is wild. Real estate is crazy.
Then that means that he done lost his loft too, because that looked a little pricey. So everything gone.
In your prognosis, in mine, he is happy, healthy, and thriving.
Not if he's not with me.
So, no, other than Cleo's death scene, which it just deserves all of the Oscars. That scene goes down in history as the most dramatic death, second to only Mufasa. Sticking with that. What would you like to leave the people with this film?
I think that everybody should go and listen to the soundtrack. It was a huge hit. It was number 4 on the Billboard chart for a couple weeks. Like, there's a lot of amazing songs on this soundtrack. So check that out. It'll probably bring you some nostalgia and everything. And that's that.
I love it. I just feel like we need more films with female Black leads. I feel like we haven't had a good group of women doing something other than being goofy. I feel like we need another like action, just group of chicks kicking ass, shooting guns, bang, bang.
Taking ass and kicking names.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
wow. That was okay. Reverse it. But you know what? Neither here nor there. With all of that being said, if you would like to support the show to help us get more content out to you all, you can visit our website and follow the Support the Link show to become a Patreon member or donate to our Cash App. Now, we are happy to get the kind of money that jingles, but we'd rather get the kind that folds. As always, be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you get podcasts and leave us a comment because we are counselors and we actually care what you guys have to say. So until next time, peace.
Okay, bye.